Where am I? Oh, I've already got someone on YouTube. Just waiting for everyone to turn up. I hit 500,000 today on Instagram. That's a big number. I was very excited. I've only been on Instagram for a year, and yeah, I'm loving it, even though I don't understand it. I don't understand social media at all. Okay, I'm just yabbering on, just waiting for people to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and it's kind of, is it rainy? It hasn't rained all day, but it was supposed to. So we'll see. I haven't been out all day. I've just been working. I go out first thing in the morning to the gym early, and then I often don't get out all day. So Arizona, excellent. Welcome, Nicole. Nicole Marie. Marie is my middle name. You know, I went to school, I think there was, throughout school, I met 6 other Lisas, and only one of them wasn't Lisa Marie. So we're all Lisa Marie, Lisa Marie. Like Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, just goes together. Okay, Iowa, hello. You've been here before. I think I remember that name. Okay, from CT, Connecticut? Is that Connecticut? I always feel like I'm going to say that wrong. Connecticut? When I was a kid, I remember I couldn't say that. Melbourne, hi Melbourne. My kids, Connecticut. My kids were born in Sydney and Brisbane. So I never made it to Melbourne. I was so busy raising kids. Like I arrived there and basically 9 months later, my first kid was born. So yeah, I never made it down to Melbourne. Maria is my middle name too. I don't put the last name for pride. Yeah, good idea. Kentucky. Hi, Kentucky. Okay, well, let's just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses. Is that right? Yeah, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for older kids. Hi, Florida. And you can look into coaching. Hi, Georgia. Or Cynthia from Georgia. Canada. Hello, another Canadian. Okay. I emailed for help about the board, but okay. So yeah, I don't know. We don't always have time to answer parenting questions on email. The only place I really answer parenting questions is here. But we should get to your email, but I don't know what my daughter answers all that. Okay. But are the consequences, okay, I emailed for help about the board, but are the consequences per offense or per day? Per offense. But if they do, like if they're continually doing the same thing over and over and over again, I would say we're just going to go to the second consequence, the harder one, the tougher one. Okay, so yours is little. So yeah, go to the tougher one. Finished boot camp course 3 weeks ago. Went so well. Attitude disappeared. Ooh, good for you. That means you did the work. At last few days, 9-year-old daughter has started getting so cheeky again. Is this a regression or are we not leaders? We will follow the behavior board to the T. Yeah, you should be sort of off the behavior board now. But yeah, they often regress because they go, I remember the old you. I can get that back now that you're finished that course. So yeah, you just got to keep, it takes 3 to 6 months to really cement this stuff. And it's more about you than them. They might see you slipping a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like you just sort of, getting a little bit too confident. Don't go there yet. So yeah, that's potentially it. I'm guessing that's it. Just joined the boot camp 3 to 12 for my 3-year-old, but I have a 1-year-old next month. Are there tips for him until he's 3? That's another boot camp course. You can just keep watching here. Most of the questions I get, the other boot camp course is for toddlers. But yeah, so no tips in that course. But these lives, mostly toddler questions. Most of the people who turn up for these lives have toddlers. I happen to specialize in teenagers, but I mean, most of the questions that I get here about toddlers, but I do try and mix it up. Also, I don't just want it all to be about discipline, which is what parents are asking me. Basically, parents are asking me, how do I fix my kids? We don't. We fix and teach parents here. So it's not about your kids. It's about you. You lead, they will follow, except when they're toddlers. Toddlers are just crazy anyway. I'm going to read the top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I don't know if you remember this cartoon. I don't even know if it's still going. The Far Side. I remember when it first came out. It was really good. Anyway, And then the guy, Gary Larson, I think his name was, who that was the guy who did it. He came out with this book, and it was all these, of course, the best far sides, like the gifted school, and the door says pull, and the kid's pushing this gifted kid, just stuff like that. Anyway, you go, and then he had an index in the back of this book, and it had the one about they were all under T. Every single cartoon was under the word T, and it was the one about, the one about, the one about. And it reminds me, my course about toddlers is really when they do this, when they do that. It's just sort of like, it's not really a planned out method like the other boot camp is. It's 5 weeks how to be a leader. With toddlers, it's more just the one about when they do this, the one about, it's sort of, they're all under the same sort of cloud, I guess you could call it, is when they do this, this is what you do. When they do that, this is what you do. And it does lead to your leadership down the road. But yeah, toddlers they're just kind of crazy. You're not going to be really a strong leader until they're 3 to 3.5. That was another one of my analogies when I'm trying to use an example. I really am bad at those. In my head, that was a brilliant comparison, the far side to my toddler course. It's kind of dumb, wasn't it? Anyway, okay, I'm okay with that. I made myself giggle. There we go. Okay, Zurich, father of twins, 2.5-year-olds. I went to Zurich in 1980. Well, I landed there and ended up in Segrasville, little town up near Thun. I had a friend who was living there up in the Hotel Adler. It's probably still there. How can I even remember that? It's unbelievable. That was 1980. Ohio, hello. I was going to read up my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Sorry, I lost track. I went off on my stupid tangent. Okay, number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you don't go to the nail salon with them. You take them to the park and roll down the hill. You connect in their world. Number 4, you discipline in their world. They are not about words. They're about actions. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. All these ridiculous things saying, discuss their big feelings and big emotions. It's absolute crap. They're about consistent corrective actions. You remove them from the fun or the fun from them instantly as soon as they do something naughty. You try and connect it so they understand. You got to be fast and you got to be consistent. That's how they learn. They don't learn the first 10 times. It might take 50 times because they're toddlers. Number 5 kind of leans into that. Stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. I always call them crazy, but it's more that they just haven't developed sanity yet. Okay, they're just not there yet. Hello from Australia. Hi, Australia. I've got several, I don't know how many, 5 or 10 or something, Australian clients right now. And that's where I raise my kids. So all of my baby terms are all Australian. I've learned how to transfer over. It's not a nappy here, it's a diaper. So I've learned how to transfer. But when you've raised your kids in one country, it's hard to think of it in any other way. My grandchildren. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really discuss grandchildren. I only discuss parenting. I don't discuss grandparenting. I'm a grandparent. And she's mobile now. So she's 8 months old. Their life is never going to be the same. Once they discover mobility, they never go back. Never. Like once they discover they can move around. Oh, watch out. Okay. We are in the moment, not using the boards now. Good. Yeah. We follow boot camp routine. Yeah. You just got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. Think of how long it took you to get where you are. It's going to take a while to get out of it, right? Yeah. It's just consistency. Because you're new at this too. Like if I went in, I could probably get respect within 3 to 5 days, probably pretty quick. But I'm level 10 with what I teach. You just learned this. You're new at this. You haven't got all the nuances, the body language, the tone of voice, the eye contact or lack of sometimes. So yeah, you're still learning what works and what doesn't. It takes a while because you're changing yourself. It's like anything. Whenever I've learned a new skill, it's all business stuff I'm studying these days. Whenever I learn a new business skill, and believe me, I'm not very good at it. Like in the back end of my business stuff, it's hard. It's hard. How can I get them through big emotions and need for control? 5-year-old. Sometimes have very tough mornings, chooses not to stand and get dressed. We have a consistent routine, TV in the last step to encourage them to finish routine. Good, that's what I do. I don't know what else to recommend because why is he fighting you if he wants TV for the last 10 minutes? That's the incentive program. Or else if that's not working, you can put down follow school morning routine on the behavior board. And if he doesn't, when he comes home after school, there's a consequence. So you can do it that way too. There's two different ways of doing that, but I always prefer the incentive-based one. As soon as you're all ready for school, everything packed by the front door, then you can play video games or whatever for 10 minutes or whatever. It's incentive-based. My son was always working systems. He was always figuring stuff out, always trying to figure stuff out. Anyway, he was, I think, probably 5. And he decided, because I said, well, as soon as you're ready for school, he was brand new in school. As soon as you're ready for school, then you can play video games. So it was one morning, it was still dark. I could hear him playing video games. It was like 5, 6 in the morning. And I got up, I said, what are you doing? And he was in a school uniform. He'd had breakfast. He was 5 years old. He was all packed up, everything by the front door. And he says, as soon as I'm ready for school, I can play video games. So he would have been playing for like 3 hours. He didn't do anything wrong. I said, oh, okay. So from now on, as soon as you're ready, you can have 10 minutes of video games. But he outsmarted me, that's for sure. But he wasn't trying to be naughty. He just thought, well, I'll get up really early and then I can have hours of video games. Imagine my surprise. He's all dressed. He's eaten. All the kitchen was all cleaned up. He's got everything packed up and he's sitting there having a great time on his beanbag chair, playing video games. I was so confused. What are you doing? And the funny thing is I was always up the first. I was always the first one up because I'm a morning person and he actually beat me. Okay, finally caught you live. I love your videos and they are so helpful. I'm a mother of 3 daughters. My oldest, who is 10, is having a lot of new issues. I believe the main cause is lack of respect. How do I gain a respect? Yeah, you got to work for that. You got to earn it. Check out my boot camp course. It might be a good fit. That costs money. If you want something for free, check out my free behavior board. That's all in the link above. And the behavior board is like the training wheels. The boot camp course obviously goes into more detail, and then we go off the behavior boards. But it's a good place to start. And but if you're going to get the course, don't do the behavior board first. Like look at the course first because there's more involved in the course, obviously. But yeah, you got to earn their respect. Don't just expect to get it. If you don't have their respect, it means you're not a leader. You got some work to do on yourself. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. I don't teach kidding or teenagering. I teach parenting. Every so often I'll get an email from someone. Can you, and this happens once in a while, not every day, but it happens. Someone wants to become a parenting coach. And it was a young girl, and it was a couple of weeks ago, a young girl, and she wanted to be a parenting coach. And she loves kids, right? So she wanted to become a parenting coach. Now she doesn't have kids, and she's like, I don't remember, 23, 25, real sweetheart, real sweet young girl, but she wanted to be a parenting coach. It put me in a very awkward position because I don't want to discourage her in any way, but I really believe parenting is heavily, heavily experience-based. And if she doesn't even have kids, I guess you could still teach it. But there's so many emotions involved in parenting that if you haven't been there, it's very hard to relate to a parent. But yeah, she would have been a great preschool teacher or something like that. So I don't know what she's going to do, but real cute young girl. Yeah, I don't want to discourage anyone from doing what I do, but yeah, it's heavily experience-based. Okay, how do you handle when a young teen reacts instantly when others bully him, cannot control the teachers, the bus driver, etc.? You can't control them, or he can't. I don't understand that last part. So anyway, he reacts instantly. Okay, I don't really know what's going on there, like what's his past, what kind of parent you are, so I can't answer it really effectively just on here. But there's 3 things that you do with a bully, and I would role play with him. And I would say, let's act this out. Every time, whenever someone comes up to you, I'll be the bully, or you be the bully, and I'll be you, and I'll show you how to do this. There's 3 steps to deferring bullying. One is you agree with the bully. The second one is you make fun of yourself with the bully. So you agree with them, then use humor. And the third one is you redirect. So like I'll tell you, the only time anyone ever tried to bully me, I was in grade 2, and the grade 5-year-old, he was the school bully. My last name was Hanky, and he came up in my face and he goes, Hanky, Panky. And I said, I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class. Don't ask me how I knew to do that. I just did it. And he never came near me again. I was never bullied. But I agreed with him. I used humor, and then I redirected. Threw him right off. He never came near me again. He kind of went like, oh, you didn't know what to do with me, right? So yeah, teach your son, your young teen. Was it a boy or a girl? And young teen, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. Anyway, so just do that and say you agree with them, use humor, and then redirect. Like, hey, what game are you playing right now or whatever? So yeah, just show it doesn't bother you. It's hard work. But if you've role played at home, it's easier for them to do it when they're faced with it for real. Okay, you can tell them what to do, but acting it out is completely different. It's like anything, if you're in theater or something or acting, you don't just read through the parts and think about it. You actually rehearse, right? It's like that. So role playing. Agree with the bully, use humor, and redirect. And when you're role playing, don't role play with the exact thing that they're being bullied about. Words still hurt, even though they know you're role playing. So just wear a silly hat. If you're playing the victim, wear the silly hat. Oh, stupid hat you're wearing. So, do something like that so that you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't bully. Don't role play with the real thing they're being bullied about, because words still hurt. We were in the playground and 4-year-old comes to me and says that other kid didn't share, swing, or hit her. What's my reaction? What should my reaction be? Play somewhere else. Yep. I don't tell other kids what to do. I don't tell other kids' parents what to do. Just play somewhere else. Or if you really want, if it's somewhere there's only one place to play, I might stand up and just stand there and maybe get eye contact with that other kid a little bit, but I wouldn't say anything. Be really careful with that. But yeah, if my kid had been hit or something and my kid still had to play somewhere, I would just stand there and just pretend I'm just looking around, but I'd let that kid know, I got my eyes on you, but don't say anything. The teachers and bus driver don't do anything. They don't always see it. Okay. They don't always see it. And there's not always something they can do. And a bus driver is busy driving. So yeah, I don't know what to say to that. Is it physical bullying? If it is, then that is the bus driver and the teacher's responsibility. But if it's verbal bullying, they don't always have time for that. So yeah, you have to teach your child. I never expected anyone to come in and save the day with my kids. I taught them how to save their own day. But if it was physical, that's up to the adults. Oh, physical bullying. Yeah, well, I would report that to the school. They have regulations against that. So yeah, they have regulations. So that's all I can recommend. I can't tell them what to do. I can only tell you that is something that you should be reporting to them. And what's their reason for not doing anything? I don't know. I used to be a mediator. I'd go to the school with the parents of the victim, and we'd go with the bully's parents too. And what I said to them is, I said, I'm here as your mediator. Let me talk. And I said, never say the word bully, bullying, being mean, anything like that was derogatory against the other kid. Never. Okay. You don't name call, because it'll shut those parents down. They'll get mad and nothing's going to come of it. So you come with the idea that let's just figure out how we can get these kids to get along. That's how you do it. So anyway, sure enough, every time they'd say your kid's a bully. So I stopped doing that. That was years ago. I used to do more in-person stuff. I don't do any of that anymore. It was quite funny. They just couldn't help themselves. Okay. Oh, someone's asking for a friend request. I don't do anything on here. My daughter manages all my social media, and I've shut down all my personal stuff. I don't do anything personal anymore. I'm too easy to find online now. And yeah, I've shut down on my personal stuff. If you're reading anything about my personal life, it hasn't come from me or anyone I know. My daughter sees everything out there that I'm tagged in because she does all my social media. Some of the stuff, people are coming after me. Like, evidently I have a son in jail. I have one son. He's not in jail. It was quite funny. I have two sons. Evidently one's in jail. But yeah, it's amazing what people, and I'm not a celebrity. Imagine what celebrities got. It makes me wonder how much of that is true that you hear, because the stuff that's out there about me, It's quite funny, but yeah, I'm very careful. Oh yeah, no, I don't have people as friends, but I'm sorry for your losses. That's really rough. Okay. Yeah, it happens. It happens. The spamming, someone said, it happens. I get used to it. Okay. So you get a 2-year-old who's hitting a 10-month-old. It's kind of rough because the 10-month-old usually comes in and interferes in whatever the 2-year-old's doing. So you got to watch them like a hawk to train them out of this. Whenever you're teaching them something, you have to be really on top of it. So every time the 10-year-old comes over and bothers the 2-year-old, and you say to the 2-year-old, okay, you share, or you can go in your room and play. So give them an option. They can get up and go and play with something somewhere else where the 10-month-old can't get at it, or they can play Lego on top of the dining table or somewhere. So you give them an out. Sometimes they will play well together, other times they won't. So just explain that there's a way out. So if the 10-month-old, you always say don't hit, and then when they do, you must take that. Whatever they hit, you must take them away from the 10-month-old, or pick up the 10-month-old, console them. But yeah, and then take a toy away from the 2-year-old. There's got to be a consistent corrective action, but you got to be watching them, because it's very hard for a 2-year-old to understand if they've just built a bunch of blocks and someone else comes along and throws it all over the place. They're going to be upset and hit back. It's quite normal to do that, right? They don't all do it, but it's quite normal. So you got to keep on top of that. And you got to say, do you want to play up here? Okay. So you want to try and prevent that from happening. But I can see why they get frustrated. Okay, 3-year-olds started pre-K, started biting others. Happens when it comes to wanting same thing. Okay, that's up to the teacher to sort of deal with, but also have the teacher report to you and tell your child, the teacher will be telling me, and then use my behavior board and say no biting or hitting or etc. and then have a consequence. So they got to understand that they can't get away with that they're going to get, the teacher does whatever the teacher does. But at 3 years old, they can understand when they come home, there's going to be an additional consequence for that. By the way, that kind of behavior usually corrects itself. They'll usually come across someone who is far better at that kind of stuff than they are. So no matter what they're doing, like hitting or whatever, someone's going to belt them one day. That's what happens. So other kids often teach them out of that, unless they're the best fighter in the class. But yeah, I'm not saying it's right, but other kids will train them out of that aggressive behavior usually. Not when they're really little, but as they get older. A 3-year-old throws tantrums. I'm present, but ignoring him. Good, but at least it lasts sometimes for 40 minutes. Yep. Will they eventually end or lessen in time? They should lessen over a period of time. The reason they're lasting so long is they remember the old you when you were not ignoring. They're trying to get the old you back. So you just stand there filing your nails. If it keeps going on for that long, you can wander over and start to do dishes or stuff like that if it's going on for a really long time. But don't look at your phone or anything like that. Just look like you're going about your daily chores while they're having that tantrum. So yeah, you can stand there filing your nails for a while, but they'll be down to the nubs. So just get up and do your chores and don't look at them. If you look at them, you're feeding it. You're making it worse. What's the basic principle behind the behavior board? It's an accountability chart for everybody, for you and your children. It shows that if you err, you will make it right. If you do something wrong, you break a rule, you're accountable and you'll make up for it. It's accountability. A lot of adults don't know how to do this at all. Do you know how many, I live downtown. Do you know how many people I see fighting over parking tickets? That poor parking meter person, they're just doing their job. People illegally park all the time, and then they get absolutely attacked verbally for giving the person a ticket just for doing their job. Talk about not being accountable. You are in the wrong. You parked wrong, you moron. Take your ticket, take your medicine. That was a person who was not raised with accountability. They just don't get it. They're just ignorant, right? So it's an accountability chart. Oh, I should be looking at, oh, you see now I'm getting more people turning up on YouTube and I keep forgetting to look at it. Just because it's a different screen and I'm so used to working off my phone. My big platforms are on my phone. That's the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. YouTube's my smallest platform, but it's on the biggest screen and I keep forgetting to look over at it. Okay. Please give consequence examples for 3-year-old mean to younger brother almost every hour. The younger brother gets to play with his favorite toy for 5 minutes or whatever. So yeah, say, oh, no, you don't do that. And then you give the favorite toy to the baby and play with the baby with that toy, not allowing the 3-year-old to join in. That's just one. I got lots of ideas. That's just one of them. Oh gosh, no. When you take the biter away from the fun, do you sit with them and talk about not biting? Absolutely not. That's the worst thing you can do. You don't discuss bad behavior. You've already dealt with it. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. So you take them away from the fun because they just bit. And then you're saying, oh, okay, do you want to read a book or do you want to, or you can just bring them in the kitchen while you're doing chores or whatever, but you don't discuss bad behavior. It's just not a good thing to do. Don't get me started on that one. I could go on for an hour over that one. We should do a video on that, podcast on that, actually. Oh, the podcast is coming out 1 week from today. We've got 8 of them already filmed and ready to go. And we're going to be releasing, my daughter's going to be releasing 3 of them on next Tuesday. So, but yeah, we should do one. I'm going to bring that up. Do one on don't discuss bad behavior. You deal with it, but discussing it, what's the point? How's that working for you? What's the point? That's the pool story. Have you heard the pool story? That's my favorite story to explain how I teach this stuff. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. And what do you get? You get the good kid. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. I don't let anything go, though. I deal with bad behavior. There's a consequence each and every time. But then I focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. So yeah, if you're talking about bad behavior, it will get worse and worse. Pretty much guarantee it. Okay. If you have older kids or teenagers, I specialize in teenagers, so you can ask questions. Most people who turn up to these lives have toddlers. So, and also what I teach is not about discipline. It's about connection, how to connect with your kids. Discipline, you just deal with it and then you connect. The pool story, that's what it's all about, the pool story. I've told that story a million times. It's a video called Example of Leadership Parenting. If you go on Instagram and TikTok, it's one of the first videos. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting, and it's a pool story. It explains, I don't let anything go. I deal with all bad behavior, but I don't talk about it and I don't focus on it. Discussing bad behavior, discussing all the big feelings and big emotions. It's crap. It's absolute crap. Ugh. I know it's popular. It doesn't make any sense at all, though. None. If you want me to explain that, I will a little bit. I love talking about it, but it might bore most people on here. Okay, someone answered the daycare question. I didn't answer that because that was involving daycare, and I don't really do daycare. You know what I mean? But yeah, someone else answered it already. You love the pool story. Yeah, I probably should tell it, shouldn't I? Oh no, I'm almost out of time. I've got to go over to, I hate telling that story. I've told it so many times. I can't hear myself when I say it anymore. I've said it so many times. Yeah, I knew you meant pool. Anyway, I'm going to be going over to Instagram now, and I just hit 500,000 today on Instagram. That's a big deal. 500. It's not my biggest platform, but it's a lot of people. Can't wrap my head around that. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, toddlers and older kids, or you can look into coaching. I'm pretty caught up. Okay, I'm not caught up. I lost track again. I was caught up yesterday, but I got quite a few more applicants for coaching. So I do have a wait list for coaching, but it's going pretty well. It's usually within a week I can usually get back to you. It was pretty difficult over the summer, but now it's better. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm going to Instagram, and I'm on YouTube the whole time. Happy parenting. Geez, that went fast. Half hour? I had to check the time like 3 times. I couldn't believe it. That went fast. Talking to YouTube while I'm changing over to Instagram. Whoops. Nope. Camera angle different. Okay. Okay, this one's a difficult one for me. This is Christina on YouTube. 9-year-old takes piano violin lessons. How do you feel about putting things like practice with a consequence? We aren't sure what to do when she doesn't practice. You know, my mom was a piano teacher, and she kind of made me take piano from someone else because you can't teach. It's hard to teach your own kids, right? So anyway, and I never liked it. I never used it. I never played it afterwards. I don't know if is it that important that she plays? Like I would like kids to do extracurricular stuff that they enjoy. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. If it's that important, she wants to take the lessons. They were her idea. Yeah, I'd say, look, if you're not willing to practice, then maybe you should just quit. I would. Is there no audio? 2 people have said there's no audio. Can you hear me? Can't hear. Several people can't hear. Can you hear me? Might be mute. How would I unmute myself? I don't think I'm muted. No audio. Okay, I'm going to come out. I'm going to get out. In now. Discard video. Just a sec. I got to try it again now. Okay, come on. Yeah, on YouTube it is, but on Instagram it isn't. Or are you on Instagram also? Sometimes people are on both. Okay. Can you let me know if you can hear me? Because I just stopped and started because evidently people couldn't hear me. Yeah, audio on YouTube is working. It's the Instagram one that wasn't. So can you hear me? We can hear you. Good. Okay, because I was on mute before. I don't know why. Okay, so let me see here. I can hear you on YouTube. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Great. Thanks, people. I hit 500,000 followers on Instagram today. Thank you for that. Thank you for that support. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know what's funny is I don't remember. I think it was probably on TikTok. I hit 500,000. It must have been on TikTok. I hit 500,000. Then people are always coming, especially on TikTok. People come and go. Like they subscribe and unsubscribe much more so than anywhere else. So I hit 500,000. I think it was 500,000, and then it went back down to 499, 999. You know, it was so disheartening. Yay, 500. Oh, 499. It was just so funny. It happened like that. That was great. Anyway, okay. So anyway, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach and a grandmother and a mother. If you look at the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have 2 of them now, one for toddlers, one for older kids, or you can look into coaching. My wait list is pretty good. I think I'm within a week of managing it now for coaching. So I'm doing my best here. And I do mix up the ages. So if I don't get to you right away, it's because I'm looking for different ages in coaching. I have 2 boys, Irish twins, 15 months and 27 months. They just fight all the time, want the same toys. It's exhausting. Yeah, it is. You got to play with them, show them how to play together. If not, you can get the older one in a separate area or put a gate up between them or something. You got to just keep them separate, or else they're just going to keep fighting. The more you keep them separate, the more they're going to want to play together. So yeah, just keep separating them as much as possible. Take one out of the room, then the other out of the room, and go back and forth. It's a lot of work, but eventually they'll learn. It's temporary. Everything with little wee ones is temporary. They're annoying as anything sometimes, cute as a button, but they are all feet, no brains, basically. Tips for getting a 7-year-old to sleep in his room. Check out the Bedtime Battles course. It's a whole system on how to get them into bed and then how to keep them there. You might want to check that out. Yeah, it's it goes from 2 to 8 years old. It's in the link above. I signed up for your coaching, waited to hear a response. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at that for a couple days, but I maybe will tomorrow. So thanks for doing it. It's the intake form you're talking about, right? Because I don't recognize that name. Okay, 2-year-old has developed a habit of waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. Try to let her cry it out or rock her back to sleep. Cannot put her back down. She ends up in bed with us. Okay, check out the Bedtime Battles course. It's not just for when you first put them in bed. It's for if they get up in the middle of the night, it's how to get them back in bed. It's a rough night, by the way. It's not supposed to be easy, but nothing like this. Nothing that really makes a big difference is. I would say the Bedtime Battles course is probably the Bedtime Battles method that I teach is probably my most successful method of everything I teach. It's often one night of hell, but often only one night. So because it's a need that you're meeting too, they need to sleep. So it's sort of, you're kind of meeting their needs. Anyway, check that out. I actually really like that one. It's not my favorite course, Bedtime Battles. I think potty training is my favorite course. You still can't hear. Everyone else can hear from what I've heard. I wasn't trying to be funny, but yeah, it might be at your end. How do you combat feelings of guilt when needing to get stuff done? So in other words, they want to play all the time. You play hard with them, and then and put a timer on. Say, okay, I'm going to play for 10 minutes, put a timer off, and then when that's gone, I'm going to go do my chores. I played hard with my kids, and I had no guilt whatsoever when I wanted to go and relax or do whatever I wanted to do. I would literally just say, okay, that was fun. Now scram. Mom's going to write to grandma or something, and they'd happily run off because I played hard with them. I played with them. And then they knew when I said scram, that meant I'm going to do dinner or I'm going to do some chores. So yeah, they just eventually learn. No guilt. If you feel guilt, then they kind of can sense that. Yeah, I had no guilt whatsoever. That's very unusual. You've got a 12-year-old and a 3-year-old that are constantly fighting. That's a big gap in age to be fighting. Anyway, you might want to check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12-year-olds because you got one that's 3 and one that's 12. That can actually stretch up to about 14, but 12 for sure. Anyway, check that out. Teach you how to be a leader and that kind of stuff. They don't fight when they got a leader in the house. The second to last thing to go, when you set yourself up as a leader, the second to last thing to go, and it happens organically, is them fighting. Kids who have a leader don't fight. They just don't. So it's the second to last thing to go, but you got to work hard to you got to get everything in place first, and then that will stop. You still deal with it, but it's the second to last thing to go. The very last thing to go from the kid's bad behavior when you're a leader is attitude. It happens organically. You never address or discuss attitude. It will eventually dissipate once you're a leader. So check out the boot camp course. Okay. Do we have a guide on how to potty train a 2-year-old? I do. I want to show you something. Just a sec. I just found this the other day. I did this book, and it's called Potty Party Manual, How to Potty Train in 2 Days. This was like 16, 17 years ago. I did this book. And yeah, it's a course now. I haven't put much more in it actually, because there's not much more to tell. And but yeah, I just found that I haven't sold this book in like 15 years. And but yeah, I just found that the other day. So yeah, I have a potty party course. It's called Potty Party, I think it's called. It's one of my mini courses. Check it out in the link above. Yeah, I don't sell this book anymore, but I just found this. I thought it was so funny. What would I even do with this thing now? Crazy. Anyway. Yeah, it's a course now. Because you don't want to be mailing stuff out and everything, right? Everything's online now. Plus, I got videos. All my courses have videos in them too. Oh, I'm in trouble. I just remembered I'm supposed to be filming all new videos for all the courses. We're just buffing them up a little bit and updating a couple things. And my daughter's in charge of all that. And she keeps telling me, Mom, have you done the videos yet? I'm going to write that down. I'm in trouble. She does all the planning. Just a sec. Course videos. I forgot. Sorry, darling. Okay. Donate it to me. Yeah, I'm not mailing nothing. I never go to the post office. Isn't that cute, though? Little kid. I just laughed when I saw it. It's so old looking. It's hilarious. Anyway. Okay, so your kid hits you a lot. What do you think of hitting back? No, because then you're just like him, right? So no, check out the boot camp course or look at the behavior board, which is completely free, and that will and just put no hitting on the board. How would buy the book? I prefer a book over an online. I just don't sell it anymore. I just don't. It changes my business too. If I start selling stuff in stuff like this, I'm not willing to do that. Like it changes. My accountant would have a fit if I started doing that. He'd like, are you kidding me? So yeah, it changes everything. So I can't sell anything physical. Plus I'd have to look, I'd probably want to change a couple things. It's funny because I look back, I did an old video like 17 years ago. And I found this old video and I was talking about, this newfangled Facebook thing. Yeah, that's really relevant today. How to differentiate taking, I get asked this a lot. How to differentiate taking a kid out of fun when displaying a bad behavior in timeout. They seem the same. They're not the same at all because when they're in timeout, they're alone. They're in a corner. When you take them away from the fun, they're with you. They're in the kitchen while you're doing the dishes. You could even be talking about the weather with them. Okay, timeout is when they're alone. Timeout is over in a corner all by themselves. It's completely different. It's completely different, completely. 3-year-old boy started saying no to me. Everything I ask him, he goes, no. As soon as they turn 3, there's kind of a fork in the road. They either get easier or more difficult, depending on whether or not you've been a leader, shown any leadership qualities leading up to that. So yeah, 3, they go, wait a minute, let me think now. You're not a leader. You don't know what you're doing. I'm going to take charge. So that's what's happening, I'm guessing. I don't know. It's when they find their power, basically. So yeah, check out the behavior board. If you really want to know how to set yourself up as a leader, which is what this is all about, check out the boot camp course. It's 5 weeks, how to be a leader. Yeah. Well, I get asked this sometimes, and I always throw it back at you because is there a reason toddlers often wake up from a nap or asleep crying? Well, think about adults. How many adults wake up cranky? I'm one of those sunny disposition waker-uppers. You should see me at 5 a.m. Good morning. I'm wide awake, cheery as anything. I'm not good at night, though. I'm like, what? If I get horizontal anytime after 6, I'm asleep within a minute. So I'm not good at night at all, but I'm great in the morning. So you think about it. A lot of adults, it has to do with body temperature. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. But yeah, some people just wake up differently, right? My daughter woke up well. My son usually did, but he often didn't. He'd wake up and just like a bear. I go, oh, geez, You got to put down the age. Oh, you got a 3-year-old who dropped in the middle of the street when you're busy pushing a stroller? Yeah, I would ask passerbyers to help me. And maybe they could push the stroller and you could pick up your kid. You got to get them off the street. You got to remove them somewhere safe and then ignore them. Yeah. Whenever I see a mother like that struggling, I always run over. And I'm an older woman, so they're usually not threatened by me. I used to tell my kids, if you ever feel threatened and you're out alone, like as they got older and they, be somewhere alone maybe. And I would say, you always go up to an older woman and tell her you don't feel safe or tell her to help you. But yeah, I always said, and now I realize that would be me. So, always go up to someone who looks like your grandmother, me. Or go up to a mother with young kids, or. Okay, I already answered this. Someone else, maybe it was you, but your daughter, 2.5, has one hour tantrums. You can sit with her for a while, filing your nails, ignoring her, but then eventually get up and start doing chores. Just go about the house doing your normal things. Don't get on a phone call. Don't do anything like that. But you don't watch TV or anything. You just go about doing your chores. Like go about your business and let her just keep going. 2, 5, 6, and 8, constant bickering, fighting. When you're a leader, they don't fight. So that's sort of one of those things. Everyone wants to fix the kids. It has nothing to do with them, really. When you're a leader, they don't fight. They just don't. They just don't. Okay, work on your leadership skills. It's everything. I know you hate use your words. What do you say to a 5-year-old who won't say what they want when upset? Why do you need to hear from them when they're upset? When they're upset, let them calm down, and then you're ready to listen. Yeah, let them calm down. I can think of a few situations where that might not be appropriate, but overall, when they're upset and they're all angry, let them go. And then when they calm down, you go, yes. Oh, what was it you were trying to tell me? Yeah. Is terrible twos really a thing? Do all kids go through it? No. I would say my kids didn't. They're pretty easy little kids. My son did have tantrums, but overall they were pretty easy kids. What happens is they find their bodies, basically, 2-year-olds, and they find their voices and they use them. Okay, and they overuse them. They're grabbing things. They're not all like that though. It's usually the more hyperactive kids, the ones with energy. My kids weren't hyperactive. So, but yeah, the more hyperactive the child, the more likely they are to find their voice and find their body and use them and overuse them. So yeah, it's just a power, like they're excited by it, right? Like, whoa, look at all this stuff I can do. And look, I can upset those 2 adults over there too. Whoa, power. So yeah. Ignoring her emotions doesn't make her feel neglected. People don't ask me that much anymore because I always have the same answer. If when they're acting out or when they're being all crazy and upset, and then you ignore that, you let them be upset, let them get it out of their system, and then you say, oh, okay, do you want to talk about something, whatever? Then you can address them. If that makes them feel neglected, you've got bigger things to worry about. If your child cannot handle their scenes, fits, tantrums, and meltdowns being ignored, you got bigger things to worry about. Kids who know they're loved wouldn't bother them a bit. They would think, oh, maybe I shouldn't act like that. That gets me no attention whatsoever. Okay? So yeah. Two-year-old keeps crawling out of her crib. What do I do? What I did was I dismantled the crib and put the mattress on the floor. And then I did the bedtime routine. And I've got a whole course on that. It's called Bedtime Battles. If you want to check it out, it's my mini course. That's also included in both big boot camp courses. But yeah, so you might want to check that out. Behavior board really works. Thank you. Helps us be consistent. It's just a way of getting yourself organized, isn't it? And you've got something to follow. Oh God, I had a funny session with a client. The kid called me a BIT. I hate that. The mom and I were laughing. Oh, this kid hates my guts. I'm fine with that. Oh, it's so cute. Yeah, the mom wasn't laughing quite as hard as I was, but it was cute. How to deal with 5-year-old misbehavior at school. Okay, when you're a leader at home, they don't misbehave at school. It's just the way it is. But you should have that teacher reporting to you. So you say, can you please, I'm doing my best here. I've got a new system in place. Make it sound like you just discovered something. You're going to fix this. So you say, can you please tell me every day my kid misbehaves and what they do? Just make it a quick little email or something. You don't want to impose on the teacher too much, but just say, would you mind just reporting to me? I'm trying to fix this kid up, right? So then at home, you say, look, you misbehaved at school. Here's the consequence. So it's like a business transaction. There's no anger, no emotions, and don't discuss it. Discussing all this bad behavior is a huge mistake. Never gets you anywhere. It just makes everything worse. Okay, just say, okay, you were bad at school today because you did that. So here's the consequence. You can do that chore. Okay, I'll give you 15 minutes to do it. Okay, it's like that. It's a business transaction. They'll eventually learn. It's not always that simple. There might be other stuff going on. Maybe there's some kid being bullied, or they're bullying some kid, or some kids bullying them. I don't know what's going on at school. With coaching, I'd have to look into it. But basically, that's just my simple answer, is just have a consequence. But don't make it a big deal. Don't discuss it. Don't discuss it. None of these therapy sessions discussing bad behavior. You deal with bad behavior, then you stop talking about it. Just have a consequence. I don't know why this ever happened. Why all of a sudden there's all this therapy sessions around bad behavior, all this focus around bad behavior. It's a huge mistake. Huge. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. So you're growing the bad behavior. The more you talk about what they did wrong, the more they're going to do it. 2-year-old won't sit at the dinner table. I had my kids in a high chair at a very old age. So yeah, they were strapped in. But yeah, I do have mealtime routine is in the toddler boot camp course and also in the older course around meal times, if you want to check that out. But I don't know your setup. But yeah, but my 2-year-old, it's just a 2-year-old. Every time he gets up, the food gets put away. But it's tricky. It's tricky because they're only 2. Yeah, I got no quick answer for that here because it's kind of involved how you deal with that. Because you're not just going to starve them. I mean, they still have to eat, but. My daughter won't stop holding her poop. When you said that, I was envisioning this. Just in my mind, that was where I went. I thought, oh, that's interesting. She's 8, holds it and messes her pants at least 3 to 5 times a week. You have to hire me for that if you want me to assess that. I don't know why she's doing it. I would have to assess that, figure it out. There's lots of different reasons that could be. I can't answer that here. Could be, I'd take her to a doctor too, see if she has some medical issue. My 9-year-old son curses at me and thinks it's funny. This 9-year-old doesn't think it's funny. It's sort of more of a bravado, like that. It's not real humor. When a child is disrespectful to their parent, their self-esteem is in the toilet, guaranteed. So we're not fixing kids, we're fixing and teaching parents here. Set yourself up as a leader and that cursing will stop. I would put down no bad words on the behavior board and go from there. But remember, I don't teach discipline here. I mean, I do, but it's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on connecting. When you're connected with your kids as a leader, I don't put up with anything. I deal with bad behavior. But then I focus on the good kid. I focus on the connection. Okay, the pool story says it all. I think it's the first video on here, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting, and it's the pool story. I don't let anything go. I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid, the connecting. So yeah, work on yourself and your leadership skills, and they're not going to curse you out. They'd be humiliated to do that. I remember someone asked me once, they said, what did you do? Your kids must have at one time told you to shut up. And I said, no. Like, no. Yeah. When you're a leader, they don't treat you like that. So, yeah. How do you distinguish between a tantrum and just being very upset? Well, very upset is, I don't know what you mean by that. Usually if they didn't get their own way, when they're upset, it's a tantrum. So did something happen that they just didn't like? Then that's usually a tantrum. And the tantrum is upset, but it's a loss of emotional control and not getting what they want. So if they're upset, I don't know what the situation is. It's what caused it would be how you would tell. Can you share your perspective on what you think sleep should look like for a 9-month-old? No, I cannot. They're all so completely different. Some sleep 8 hours a day, some sleep 18 hours a day. So I can't. They're quite different. There's milestones that your kids are supposed to meet, and we're all supposed to get a certain amount of hours even as adults, but that's just a suggestion. So no, I don't have an opinion on that. So I got to scroll ahead to make sure that you're still here. When I answer, I'm looking for the behavior board that is up above. It's in the link, and you'll get it within about 15 minutes of signing up for the newsletter. You'll see everything I have is in that one link. And also, there are a bunch of imposters out there pretending they're me. I'm the only BratBusters, and I'm the only one that teaches what I do because I learned it all through my own experience. So yeah, if you're going to give money to someone thinking they're me, make sure it's BratBusters.com. And it's this link. This is me. I'm here. And but yeah, there's a whole bunch of imposters out there. I've got a hefty following online now. And that's just what happens. There's nothing I can do. If you get some accounts have been closed down, usually it's other people closing them down, explaining, that's an imposter. But yeah, just be careful who you give your money to if you're going to buy a course from someone, because I've had people who've just spent money thinking it was me, and then they'll email me, why haven't you got back to me? And I say, that wasn't me. Like this. Oh, I hate that. But there's nothing I can do. You close them down, they open up under a different account. There's all sorts of scams out there. You can't avoid that. So the link above is me. Say loss of emotional control. How do I handle a loss of emotional control while weaning off the binky? I don't wean off a binky. I just take it away. So weaning always implies that you're slowly doing it. But yeah, I did that with my son. He was 18 months old. We just got back from a big overseas trip. So I thought, this is it. I wasn't going to do it before the trip. I wanted him to have that dummy. So we got back and he was 18 months old. I put them all in a little baggie and I said, bye-bye dummies. We put them away. He never asked for one all day, which shocked me because he did have tantrums sometimes and he never had one. But I replaced them with, I got him little sippy cups instead, because you're a big boy now. You got a sippy cup. So I gave him something else to have. And they might very well be upset. But if they're upset because they're missing something that they used to find comforting, I would sit and read a book. I would just sit. If they're having a fit, I would sit and I'd go, ooh, and what's this? Ooh, and the fox went over there. And then hopefully they'll come and join you. But if you say, come and read a book, and they're upset, they're not going to. That's not the way to do it. You just go and sit in a corner by yourself and start reading their book out loud to yourself. It's redirecting, but in an indirect way. And so, yeah, you don't give any attention to the scene. You just are over there reading their favorite book, and they might eventually join you. If your 5-year-old says, I'm mad at you, I don't want to play with you because she couldn't get her way, is that behavior board thing? No, it's just fine. Like, who cares? That's just manipulative attitude. I don't address that. Yeah. So I don't want to play with you. I'm mad at you. Say, okay, see you later. Go off and do your own thing. Don't give it any attention. The only reason she's 5 and she's doing that means it must work. It must pull you in. Guaranteed. They only do what works past the age of 4. So that says to me that bothers you and it pulls you in, and you oh, but I love you, but right. Don't do that. Just say, oh, okay, and go and do something. Like, it's like if you're a kid, I'm mad at you because I didn't get my own way. And if the person says fine and walks away, you're kind of like this. Oh, like, that didn't work. You see, it's like that. You're not playing into that. Yeah, I just had a client. We were discussing this today. Potty train before a trip or after, like a big trip. I think that parent's going to hold off, but that's your choice. 2.5 is a really good time to potty train. That's your choice. I can't tell you that. I hate public toilets, especially when you got a little one who's new at it, who's new at going to the bed. They always want to put their hands on the toilet seat. So yeah, that's your call. I can't make that call for you. That's just what I said to my client. I said, that's your call. We kind of discussed. I think they're going to hold off. But yeah, and then often when you're in an airport, because we did big overseas flights, like 24-hour trips. Oh, it's awful. Anyway, and sometimes you're waiting in a line or you're boarding a plane and they've just been potty trained. And then I have to go poo and I have to go now. What are you going to do? Yeah. And I wouldn't want to put them back in a pull-up after you've potty trained. So yeah, I don't know. My gut reaction is I would probably wait, but that's your call. Okay, I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I have a toddler course now. All the mini courses are thrown in as a bonus to that boot camp course for the toddlers. And then the other course is 3 to 12-year-olds. And you can look into coaching. The wait list is pretty good right now. I'm usually got a 1 week turnaround. It was like, oh my God, 4, 6, 8 weeks over the summer. But yeah, now it's down to about 1 week usually. So anyway, I'm moving over to TikTok and I'm on YouTube the whole time. So thanks very much for joining me. And thanks so much for your support. I hit 500,000 followers today on Instagram. Unbelievable, eh? Thanks so much for that. It's not taken for granted, that's for sure. And thanks so much. Anyway, happy parenting. Okay, so YouTube, I'm moving over to TikTok.
Don't swipe because...
And TikTok's my biggest platform, but it's no busier than the Instagram is. Like no busier on the live. So I should still be able to get to. Okay. Okay, you got Emma, you got a 4-year-old who will not poop on the toilet. It's extremely common, especially for boys. There's 3 reasons for that. One is plop phobia, one is hanging phobia, and the other one is cold butt. So the first one is maybe they've been splashed, so they don't like the splashback. So, and especially boys, they got more equipment hanging out down there, and I think that's why it's more likely boys than girls. Just a sec. Also, the second one is hanging phobia. They don't like, sorry, I have to be so graphic, but it's parenting. So they don't like the feeling of it tugging when it's hanging down there, right? And then the last one is they just get cold butt when they're pooping. It takes a while, so they get cold. So what I suggest you do is hike the heat up, get a little porta potty, put some toilet paper in the bottom so that there's no water and they can feel the bottom on their bum so they feel more secure, and say there's no water, you're not going to get any splashback. And then they don't get the hanging thing because it's hitting the bottom while it's still in them. Sorry about this, it's parenting stuff. And then if you don't want to hike the heat up in the bathroom every time, if you haven't got a separate thing in there, you can just put a big, huge blanket around them and the porta potty. And you can just read a book to them or whatever while they're sitting there. So, okay, I'm on TikTok now. Thanks for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. You go on the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses. I've got a new toddler course now. It's been up for a month or so, and all the little mini courses are thrown in as an added bonus. The older one is 3 to 12 years old. That's when you're at the height of your leadership, is 3 to 12. They want to please you. It's just a natural instinct for kids to want to please their mentor, their leader, someone that they look up to. You're the safe place to land. They tell you everything. So that's when you're at the height of your leadership. Things shift and change in the teen years. Right now, I just have coaching for teenagers. They're my favorite age, by the way. Yeah, once you know how to talk to teenagers, they're fantastic. But it's a lot of parents just don't transition very well into the teen years. So that would be coaching. You can look into that. I have a wait list, but it's pretty good. It's usually a 1-week turnaround right now. So I shouldn't say that, but right now it should be about a 1-week turnaround. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and let's get going with your questions. I keep trying to get the behavior board, but I'm not getting the email. Yeah, it will come eventually. There's always something. Either you put your email address in wrong, which is the most common thing. So you can sign up again and make sure you got the right email, or you just haven't waited the 30 minutes it might take. There's always a reason, like it's never just not turned up. Or look in your spam. We're pretty good at avoiding spamming, like people, because there's certain things that you do that avoid that. How old was the kid who called you that? Oh, I don't want to say. It's very funny, though. Oh, God. Yeah, he said a few funny things. I don't want to go on about it, but it was pretty funny. Yeah, they get mad, They get mad. They see parents are changing, and I'm the cause of that. So I'm quite happy to take the hit. It doesn't bother me at all. They're just trying to win the battle. That's all. That's all. I see it. I get it. They're just trying to win the battle. And I know it's upsetting when you live with them and they're being nasty to you. I get it. But yeah, you just can't let them win. But the parents and I had a fun time laughing at it. Just how we should respond. Like, obviously, we were just having fun with it. But yeah. You know what that bee told me to do this week? Wait till you get a load of this. I love my job. My favorite thing in my job is coaching. I love it. Because you get to have fun, chatting and laughing. Okay. And if you don't laugh, you cry. Because I do deal with crisis work. There's not a lot of laughing in that. But anyway, But yeah, parenting can be funny if you see you're not the only one going through this stuff. And that's what's so good about these lives and the comments and this online stuff is you can see you're not the only one going through this stuff. A lot of parents say, have you ever come across this before? And I go, yeah, about an hour ago, another client was saying the exact same thing. So I think a lot of parents feel like failures and guilty and like they're the only ones going through this. No. It's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training. So why do you expect yourself to be an expert? I think because at one time parenting was supposed to come naturally. And the reason it did, and it used to, but 100 years ago, there was a village raising kids. We were all out in the streets, all the neighborhood moms, they were all home all day long. They knew all of us. They'd call all of us on our bad behavior. We were watched. There was a whole village watching us. So there was multi-generational, families there. My grandmother, I grew up with my grandmother living in the house next door. It was just a different world. So it did come naturally because they weren't as fussy about how they parented, for one thing. They were just raising kids who were respectful and nice kids. And that was it. They did whatever they had to do to get there. So they didn't think about it a lot. They didn't work. There's no parenting guilt or anything. Yeah. So it was just a different world. But nowadays, it's very complex. I don't think it is. But I mean, they make it complex by discuss all their feelings and all. Yeah. You can talk about their feelings, but not when it's all this, tension and they're angry and having tantrums. It's the last thing you do is talk about their feelings. I can see what your feelings are. Why do you need to discuss that? They didn't get their own way. Now they're mad and you want to talk about that? I wouldn't talk about that. Sleep regression. You got a 2-year-old, check out my bedtime battles course. It's a whole system, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. It's one night of sheer hell. It can bleed into 2, maybe even 3 nights, but usually gets better and better as long as you're consistent. The only clients, I had 2 or 3 weekends in a row, I had 5 clients going through bedtime battles each weekend, and they all succeeded except one. And I asked them why, because it's my most successful method of everything I teach is bedtime battles. And I said, why? And they said, we went back on, we didn't do it. They cheated. So that's why it didn't work. But yeah, check out the bedtime battles course. It's in the link above. Well, someone said, how do you manage a fussy baby? I don't know what you mean by that. 11 months old. I don't know what you mean by that. It's a very broad question. It's like, how do I parent? I don't quite know what you mean by fussy, and if they got some challenges. I don't know. Be more specific. Like, ask me a very specific question. How do you transition consequences from timeouts to other consequences? Well, you don't transition, you just do it. Like, you don't transition implies that there's a slow process. No, just cut out the timeouts. I can't stand timeout. Just get rid of it and use consistent corrective actions when they're under 3, and when they're 3 and above, you use the behavior board because you can actually have a rule and a consequence. But under that, they don't operate like that. They're right in the moment. You got to catch them right away with an action, and it's consistent. It has to be consistent. They learn through repetition. Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they told me that the way that toddlers learn is the same way that we drive to work without thinking about it. You know how you drive and you do the same thing over and over again? It's repetition. That's how they learn. They're not really thinking it through or reasoning it through. They're just doing it. So that's why it's repetition. They're not listening to you, they're watching you. Do you know the first 7 years is when we form our basic personality? Things can be changed, but our basic personality is formed in the first 7 years, and it's all done through observation. 99.9% of it is observation, not what they hear, not what you say to them, but what you're doing. They're watching you. That's why you want to be a leader. You want to lead. You want to show them you're accountable. If you yell, there's a consequence for you, right? If you're bad, you should get a consequence. That's why I teach leadership, not authority, not please or parent. I teach leadership. So, because they're watching you. Oh, tantrums? I just ignore tantrums. Yeah, you just ignore them. There's a way of doing it, though. I do have a tantrum course if you're interested. I've got lots of videos on tantrums. See, I just don't have the energy to go through how you do it all the time. I have lots of videos on tantrums, so you might want to look it up. No, I don't have a book, and I've never read one on parenting or anything on kids because I'm self-taught. So, but I would like to write a book one day, but I would probably have to. We're just starting our podcast. It's going to be released next Tuesday, the 24th. So we're pretty busy with that. And then one day I'd like to write a book, but I think I'd have to quit coaching. And that's my favorite thing. So yeah, I don't need to coach anymore. I just really enjoy doing it. So, but yeah, I can't imagine writing a book and coaching, which takes up most of my week is coaching. So what's the name of the podcast? BratBusters Parenting. Yeah, it's my daughter and I. We do it together. She hates being in front of the camera, and I love it. She's the behind the scenes of the business. I'm the front man. She's the back end. Well, not back end, but she does all the marketing, all the social media, all of the planning. So the podcast, she's done it all. She's done all the work behind it. I just turn up. It's funny because she really hates being in front of the camera. So we'll film 2 or 3 podcasts at a time. We've got I think 8 of them done now. And then by the end of it, she goes, okay, I'm done. I can't do any more. She's exhausted. I'm like, I could do 30 more because I love being in front of the camera and she hates it. So I'm surprised she's doing it with me. It was her idea because she goes, someone's got to be feeding you the questions. And she goes, it's best if someone else is on camera with you. And because she's done a lot of research, she researches everything before she does it. She's very cautious. And that's why she said, I think I'm going to have to do it with you. And I was like, yes. But it's a lot of fun. And interesting stuff's coming up because stuff that we don't normally talk about. We don't talk a lot about when she was a kid because why would we? Because she's an adult, Anyway, but something interesting that came up that how often did I have to discipline my kids? Really, I just had mom's look. That was all it took. And they didn't do anything really because we had mutual respect. But she pointed out, she goes, I was the one in trouble all the time. I was always messing up. I was always promising something and then I'd forget to do it. And then I'd do a consequence, right? I'd have to take them somewhere fun. So it turns out I was the one who was being disciplined all the time, not them. I am a bit of a loose cannon. I'm very emotional. I'm very out there. And my kids, not so much. They weren't as much like that. So yeah, I was the one in trouble. And we had fun with it. What's your daughter's social media name? She's not really on social media. It'll sort of come out as she doesn't really like me talking about her. She's very private. But yeah, so on the podcast stuff will start coming out because yeah. And she loves the back end stuff. She's done very well marketing my business and, she does all the videos. She does all that stuff. And so she would like to, talk about that. That's what she loves, is talking about all that. So stuff like that will start coming out. And when she's ready, we're just so busy right now. She's only been with me full time for a couple of months. So, and we've done a lot in that couple of months. Have you read 1, 2, 3 Magic? I've never read a book on kids or parenting, so no. How would you help a child who struggles with transitions? A lot of kids struggle with transitioning from one thing to another. You say, okay, we got 5 more minutes. You can do a bit of a countdown. You only do a countdown when you're transitioning from one. If they're being good and they're playing with something, then you use the countdown. If they're doing something naughty, it's the worst thing you can do. You better stop hitting your little brother. I'm going to count to 3. It's horrible. You're teaching them it's okay to be rotten in the short term, just not in the long term. It's a mixed message. But if you're leaving somewhere, we're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. My son was like this. He'll probably still have a tantrum, but eventually they'll learn that it's going to happen anyway. They're leaving anyway. No matter what they do, you're going to put them in the car anyway. There's no way he would have won a battle with me. When I said we're leaving, we left. No matter what I had to go through to get him there. My sunglasses might have been askew. My hair was all over the place, but I got him in that car seat. So yeah, and I never talk. I just do it quietly. They learn. When you say something, it's going to happen. How do you help a child regulate emotions? They cry about everything. Okay, when you're a leader, they don't cry. Your leadership regulates their emotions. They feel safe. They feel like they've got a leader as a parent. They feel like you're a mentor and someone they can talk to about everything. Your leadership regulates their emotions. Okay. You can't turn a dial on them. I know it's common to talk like that these days. How do we help them self-regulate? No, you work on yourself. We're not fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. When you're a leader, it calms your children down. How do you deal with a huge meltdown in public? The same as you do in private. You're the same parent no matter where you are. But if it's somewhere where you're disturbing people, you remove them. Like there's no way I would put a restaurant through a tantrum. How rude would that be? I would take the kid out. I'd say, can you just give us a doggy bag to go? We got to get out of here. And I would take the kid out in the parking lot or in the car and let them scream it out there. There's no way I would put other people through that. And on an airplane, you give them whatever they want. Do not ignore a tantrum. You give them whatever they want. Don't put a plane full of people through a tantrum. It's horrible. Yeah, give them whatever they want. They learn that only happens on planes, and it's just a stage they'll go through anyway. But yeah. You want this? Sure, here you go. You want some chocolate? Oh God, I'd give my kid. The only time could have happened, my son was 18 months old. Once they turned 3, they didn't have tantrums anyway. So, but yeah, at 18 months old, he had tantrums every so often. And I made sure I had lots of stuff in my bag for whatever he wanted, because it was a 24-hour flight and it was awful. He didn't sleep the whole time for 24 hours. An 18-month-old who didn't sleep for 24 hours. By the time we got to my mom's house in Canada, we lived in Australia. By the time we got to my mom's house in Canada, his eyes were like this and they were spinning. I mean, it's just, they were like this. I don't even think he knew where he was or like what he was doing. He was just out of it. He was happy, but his eyes were all bloodshot. Oh my God. He didn't sleep for 24 hours, 18 months old. He didn't cry or anything because he got whatever he wanted. Anything to keep him quiet. Well, this is such a quick fix. Yanni, I have a fake sink for my toddler. She drinks the water from it, even if I say no 100 times. Why are you putting water in it? I wouldn't put water in it. My 2-year-old shushing me. How do I not missile drop kicker? Yeah, I just ignore that stuff. If a kid was shushing me, I would just ignore it. You always ignore attitude. Attitude is not something I would ever address. And that's in this. She's just testing it out. If it doesn't work, she'll move on, do something else. Oops, I'm going to read out. I've just got a few notes here. I keep forgetting to look at them because there's just points that I like to discuss. Someone asked me a while ago, how do I get my older siblings to be leaders for their younger siblings? And I say, you don't do that. You're the only leader. You're a parent. Only the parents are leaders. You make your older kids the hero. So like you can help him out. Oh, he just looks up to you or she looks up to you. You make them the hero, not the leader. I thought that was an interesting question. They wanted their older kids to parent their younger kids. We don't do that. Yeah, they're not parents, they're kids. And another thing that comes up is parents are so busy trying to reason with their kids. The reason why you do that, I don't know, I've never done this, but I guess the reason why you discuss all this stuff and do these mini therapy sessions is you think they don't understand. You're treating them like morons. They do understand. Children act out because of a lack of control and a lack of your leadership. They don't act out because of lack of understanding. Even little ones understand that they shouldn't be hitting. They shouldn't be throwing things at people. They understand that. You talking about it makes it worse. It gives it more weight, gives it more power. So it's not a lack of understanding that makes kids act out. It's a lack of self-control. And that's what the consequences are for. So, yeah. Don't discuss all this stuff. I know it's trendy to have these mini therapy sessions, especially with little ones. Use your words, talk about your feelings. Oh God, it's just garbage. Absolute garbage. Drives me nuts. Because I have to fix all that. When someone hires me, we have to fix all that stuff that they've learned somewhere else. It just doesn't make any sense at all to me. The thing is, no, I won't go on about it. Never mind. It gets me off on a tangent. I could feel a tangent coming on. Okay. I'm strict and cutthroat. How do I make children feel comfortable with that? Well, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. You're the authority. I don't teach that at all. At all. You're asking me how to help your kids put up with your authoritarian dictatorship? Nope. I'm a leader. I'm not a dictator. Ain't going to help you with that. What do you do about whining? Drives me crazy. Yeah, it drives me crazy too. It's the one thing I can't stand. Can't stand it. So yeah, I just say if they're old enough, like 3 and above, if they're really little, I would just ignore them and ignore that whining. And when they're 3 and above, I would say, you know, when you talk to me like this and you say, I want that, say, I won't be answering you when you talk like that. And have a sign, say, I'm going to tell you when I go like this or when I go like this or whatever, use that Ross's from Friends. You remember that? If I have a signal to let them know they're whining, and go like that if they're whining, and then say, if you talk nicely, I'll answer you. The answer may still be no, but I will answer you. But if you whine, I will not answer you. So every time they whine, you can go. Has anyone seen Friends? It's funny when I got clients and I do that, they all go, oh, Ross, or else they've never seen it. I've seen every single episode. Friends, and what's another one? Oh, Seinfeld. I can literally word for word say all the dialogue in all the Seinfelds because they've been on in the background. I use that as background music a lot, so it's just in the background all the time. Four-year-old doesn't care about consequences. She says, tell me the consequence, and continues. You just got to find something that hurts. Obviously, it's not hurting. So yeah, have her do something that she really doesn't like a chore. It could be cleaning a little bit of grout with a toothbrush in the bathroom or something like that. Even if she says it doesn't bother her, it probably does. So yeah, just wiping off a table might not bother her, but maybe cleaning a windowsill would. The chore should only be about 2 minutes long, but give her 15 minutes to do it. Or 10 minutes or whatever, give her lots of time to do it. But yeah, and then say, oh, well, give me the consequence. Okay, here it is. Don't call her bluff. She's maybe pretending it doesn't bother her. That's that bravado. You can't bother me. Doesn't mean it's not bothering them. Trips for 2-year-old in church, don't bring them. How can you expect a 2-year-old to be quiet in church? I never understand that one. They're 2. How can they understand that? Yeah, take them outside. I don't really have an opinion on screen time. Like there's no set hours per week or whatever. But yeah, you've got to make that call. But there's 3 different ways of managing screen time. 2 of them are okay. The third one is the best, I think. One is you have a certain allotted amount of time per day that they're allowed on. The second one is you have a certain time frame per day, like between 7 and 7:30 or something. The last one is you have when they get older, you could do this one. They have a certain number of hours per week, and you keep track of them, but they're in charge of when they do it. So like maybe 10 hours for a 10-year-old, I don't know, 12 for a 12, or I don't know, whatever you want, less, I don't know. But yeah, so you can do it that way. There's tons and tons of different methods. And in coaching, so many different ways of doing everything I talk about. There's a lot of different ways of doing it. But yeah, screen time can be managed in a lot of different ways. You can use it as leverage a lot of the time. You can use it as incentive to do the right thing. Like morning routine is a really common one we use with screen time. So you can say, as soon as you're all ready for school, you got 10 minutes of screen time. So you can use it as incentive for getting them ready in the morning for school. But yeah, you can use screen in lots of different ways. Do I tell my kids I'm going out of town, or does that cause more stress for them? 7 and 4. Well, I wouldn't do a surprise departure. Yeah, I would tell them ahead of time. Say, I don't know how long you're going for, though. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but I would tell them ahead of time. And can't you FaceTime them every night and that too? Like, yeah. Okay. I have to get going now. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp courses, or you can look into coaching. I've got about a 1-week turnaround as of today with coaching, because I usually have a pretty big wait list, but it's like 1-week turnaround, hopefully, right now. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll be back again Thursday for sure. I might pop in tomorrow sometime too. Happy parenting. Bye now.